started. Not sure, I haven't heard anything from Commissioner Cullins. I know Ben said he was in the traffic jam. Speaking of Commissioner Cullins,
Oh, wow.
I talked you up.
Well, that's good.
Okay,
I'm sure I didn't deserve it.
is that right? You feel up to doing the invocation?
Yeah.
They said the last one in. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Call this meeting to order, the Brunswick Housing Authority Board meeting for September the 23rd, 2024. The time is 6:01 p.m. And we're going to open with our invocation. Commissioner Cullins.
All right. Been a while since I've done one of these. So.
Take your time.
Father, thank you for bringing everybody here together safely today, and we appreciate your guidance and keeping everyone safe in the authority, all the residents and all the staff, Mr. Baisden. We appreciate your guidance and look for your guidance and do all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
How'd I do?
Well,
Good enough?
back and past the.
All right.
Won't fit in your future.
Oh goodness, I hope not.
All right, we'll move to B, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or?
I move to amend the agenda as presented to include a discussion of the financials as
Yeah.
item 2B1.
All right,
Second.
B1. We have a first and a second to approve the agenda with the amendment of adding the financial report as item 2B1. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, stands amended. We'll move on to item C, approval of the minutes from September meetings. Any changes, corrections to those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from the September meetings held on, the work session held on September 11th and the executive session held on September 11th as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second on approval of the minutes for September. All in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. We'll move to item 2, new business. A, residential council, Commissioner Hayes.
Good evening, everyone. The resident council update is as follows. Our bingo night was very successful. We had close to 20 residents show up, 8 for children. We played bingo, we won prizes, we had light refreshments, and conducted our meeting where we voted that our event for Suicide Prevention Month this month would be a paint and sip. It's non-alcoholic, everybody. We're having a little Welch's wine. And it's going to be here September the 30th at 5:15. Residents are encouraged to come out and paint about what preventive measures mean to them. We will be signing in new members and doing a poster contest for the best artwork that is produced. Residents at this meeting also expressed an ongoing concern for safety of all residents in their neighborhood due to the lack of police presence and their unwillingness to apprehend individuals on the barred list that come into the community with loaded guns and threats towards residents that speak up and ask them to leave. 2 key takeaways from this month's meeting and events. Residents love bingo. Okay, we got to do more of it. And residents want to join the resident council, but I've noticed from them voicing their concerns to me privately that they fear retaliation from within their community when they speak out publicly about things that happen after 5 o'clock when the offices are closed.
Okay. Do we have, we don't personally have a, like silent witness number or anything like that people can call in? We haven't established that.
I've had residents come to the office and give me a list of units that I will pass on to a site manager, and we will place those units on our radar. And thus far, we have vacated several of those units.
Okay.
This was the conversation that I shared down at City Hall last week when we were talking about security.
Okay. So we met with the city police department? Okay.
So to ease their concerns, would you like when they bring it to my attention for me to get at least the address and
The unit number and the concern, share it with the site manager get it to me. We're all on the same page that maybe the screening process in the past was not as good as it should have been. And so we are definitely rectifying that issue now.
okay? And as far as barred individuals on property, at one point I remember we had a discussion where the new cameras would do facial recognition, and if they were somehow it flags their system and they come out immediately to arrest that person. Is that still in play, or have not all security cameras in each neighborhood been distributed?
To my dismay, the security camera company wanted to put up all the cameras across all the properties before stopping to make sure, completing one property, everything was in order with the property managers, with the City of Brunswick Police Department, as well as with staff, as well as the features that needed to be turned on in order to be able to utilize the facial recognition versus blocking the faces out. And so after complaints about the matter, we stopped the progress because that's not how it should have been done in the first place. So if I understand correctly, they've gone back to one property to fix all those issues, identify blind spots, make sure that the City of Brunswick Police Department has input on the cameras, what they're actually seeing. And I think there's an agreement or maybe a modification of additional cameras we may be adding onto the first property we were started. So I've kind of had them go back, because if you're going to do something, you need to do it right or don't do it at all. I'm not interested in them placing cameras on all the properties. I'm interested in the cameras they place work for the benefit of the residents. So that's where we are on that. So some of the things you mentioned, you have to turn them on with the software. That wasn't done, but that should be done now.
Right. I'll relay that back.
Any other questions around what's going on with the resident council? Are we fully, do we have everybody, representation from all the
We do.
AMPS
We do.
sites?
And we have a new member roster, and I believe we're at 15 members right now.
Okay. Can
And
we
you had
still-
about 20 folks show up to your September
did.
event.
8 of them were children, and they love to play bingo too. So we had a good time. Mr. Basin was there.
Did he win anything?
Did Mr. Basin play
Not this
bingo?
time. He did play.
It wasn't a successful event because I needed N7.
He's still bragging about it. Maybe next time.
Yeah. Y'all may want to look at doing Family Feud too.
Family Feud.
Yeah, we did that at my family reunion. I wasn't there for it, but here was a big hit. Everybody loves Steve Harvey.
I was going to say, you could do a mean Steve Harvey impersonation, I'm sure.
I wouldn't mind playing though.
And while we're on it, I remember you said you had a referral for the T-shirts. We've been looking, and we just haven't found the right.
I'll send you Flexer,
Okay.
Bruce Flexer, and I'll send them to you today. All right. Anything else around the resident council? Questions? Okay. All right. We'll move on to B, approval of the write-offs. Ms. Smith, Amber, how you doing?
The total amount of write-offs for all 3 amps is $16,564.88.
Mr. Basin, we're working on a little bit more of a formal procedure for how we're going to address the delinquent tenants starting January 1st.
Yes, I think based on, we started an agreement with a consultant to help us put together a new policy for our tenants as far as the guidelines. And one of the things, I don't want to steal Ms. Smith's thunder. Come on, I'm not going to let you see that.
Bradley, I think Ben is trying to zoom in.
If we could go to the second page, and this is going to be AMP 1. If you go towards the bottom, before you see the 11,000 in bold, you'll see the $4,149.50. So here is where we can improve our policy. If you look at how it starts on July the 1st and how the rent was missed. So typically, we offer a repayment plan. So give us 10% of what you owe from the past due rent. Less pay your rent for the next month, along with 5% of what you still owe from the previous month. So someone can disingenuously say, here's the 10% because they didn't pay the full 100%. So they typically would have the 10%. And then the next month comes, they may not have the rent, but they'll have the 5%. So they'll pay something on the new rent as well as the 5%. And, you know, I need more time, maybe give me 2 weeks now, I'll have the balance, and then the next month comes. So when you look at how this individual was able to it's because we offer repayment plans to try to work with tenants. We don't want to evict anybody if we don't have to. But
This one tenant?
yes. So the way we can change that is we can have it in the policy. We still have the repayment plan. We still have the 10%. But when the next first of the month comes, you have to have the full rent in order to be able to pay your 5%. Because if you don't, then we have to start the proceedings, which we can take care of within a 14-day time period. That way we don't end up 3 months later down the road with $4,000 in rent with individuals. So it's about giving them an opportunity to be successful, but also holding them accountable, because there are other individuals on the list who can pay the rent, and we're keeping them out of a unit by someone who disingenuously say they're going to stick to an agreement and then they don't.
Right. And so, how many actual residents do the write-off represent? So if this is one person, because when I look at this, I'm thinking there's more than one person.
It is more than one person.
Okay, so about how many are we working with as was this write-off? Just a estimate.
Is it each of the subtotal lines?
So for AMP 1, they had 8 tenants. AMP 2 had 5. No. 6. Hold on. Yeah. AMP 2 had 5. And AMP 3 had 4.
So we're talking about 17 actual residents that we're dealing with on the write-offs. And then about how many residents do we have? We have 600 and something. So I guess I just want to give everybody a picture. This is not, most of our families are paying their rent.
Absolutely.
And so this write-off is just a small percentage of families. And it could be any family if they run into some true hardship. But we do have people that try to game the system.
Correct.
And that's what you're talking about, changing the policy to make sure that doesn't happen.
Try and minimize that where we can. And I think that the last time this topic was discussed, and the paper covered it. The information they left off was that this money doesn't just evaporate. We send it to a collection agency, and generally, there's a large percent of individuals who run into hard luck, get back on their feet, pay off their debt, because then only after you pay off your debt can you then be eligible to move back into public housing.
Right.
And so, again, some of this debt is going to be paid off. Maybe not half of it or as much as we would want, but it's not going to be a complete
Right. But even at that, it's a small percentage of the families that live in public housing.
Yes.
These families pay their rent. And if they do happen to run into hardship, that's when we have policies to help out.
Correct.
To help them get back on their feet. Okay. Any questions around the write-off?
I move to approve the pre-generation write-offs for September as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second to approve the write-offs as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Okay, we're gonna move on to merit increases. Ms. Ora Reed, I've said that probably 100,000 times in the county.
Yes. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Excuse me for 1 second. I think we're going to do the B1, the
Financial.
financials.
First, you wanna do that first?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We'll do that. We'll move it to Mr. Baisden. Unless you have somebody else who's gonna do that for you. Do we have a copy of it?
Into your
The
packet.
last page.
Yeah, okay. I would look through everything, huh? All right.
Okay, I'm not real sure what you,
Can you introduce yourself?
oh, I'm sorry, Gwen Williams, Assistant Finance.
All right.
So this is the financials I put together. This is as of August 31st. It's listing the bank balances, what's due to and from the general fund, the CDs that we have and what the balances is. The two for Georgia HAP and LOU, I got the balances as of 6/30. I could not find where the balances were as of August 30th. I think our fee accountant Gleason has those with him, and I couldn't get hold of him to get those. I'm not going to have those next time. The ICS balance, the newest CD that we have, the current balance on there. The tenant account receivables, those are all on there. Just your waiting list numbers and your occupancy rates.
What is a CFFB debt, sir?
That is our, that's at our account that we have at United Community. That was the loan that we have. I think it's the Fannie Mae loan. Is that the one? The Fannie Mae loan. And that money is there. We pay that bill every month. That money has to stay in that account as long as the loan is open to cover a year's worth of those payments.
Okay. And what is the debt servicing? What's the loan? What was the loan for?
The loan was a capital improvement loan that the housing authority took out in like 2002 or 2004. Then put rooms on the building, changed water heaters, go totally electric. They borrowed, I think it was $13 million from future capital funds, so they pay back $245,000 a year. And in order to do that, they had to take 1 year's worth of payment, put it into an account. So if they ever missed a payment, it would be there for that year. Or if you didn't get capital funds 1 year, because that does happen.
And
Then
this,
you
they got
add
this
that.
money from HUD?
Yeah.
Okay,
They borrowed it from future capital funds.
okay, that's what that means. Okay, go ahead.
And I believe this loan will be paid out, I think it's this year. And once that loan is paid out,
2025, yeah. The last year
once
of that
it's paid
payment.
out, then we can take that money out of that account and put it back in general fund and use it for whatever we need to. It just
Okay.
has to sit there.
Okay, but that is a source of funding. I don't know if we're gonna look at it again, but that you can take a loan from future, what'd you call it?
You still, yeah,
Capital
future capital
funds.
improvement funds. You
Right.
still can do it. They are still available. I want to say the last one I saw, oh man, I think it was Atlanta. Atlanta did it in like 2018. I want to say they borrowed like $48 million.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
That's pretty much all I have. Do you have
Okay.
any questions?
On the CD interest rate, that's a typo. We're not getting 0.6%. We're getting 6%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good.
What is that, Georgia HAP, NHC? Is that, that's for the conferencing?
Those are two new accounts we have, is the NHC and the Georgia HAP 2. The Georgia HAP 2 is linked to the ICS that we have, the 2.5. That's linked to that one. It's a sweep account. And then NHC is a new account we opened that the money that we get from the Georgia and the Illinois every month goes into that account now. Well, it goes into Georgia HAP, but we transfer it to this account. It's kind of restructuring how we're using that money.
Okay. And Georgia HAP is what now?
That's our non-federal funds.
Okay. And we're only, okay, we only have 450,000 in that account?
Right now, yes.
And then we have a second account, which is similar.
The Georgia HAP 2,
Yeah.
that's the sweep account that is related to the ICS.
Okay, help me with ICS. again.
It's the ICS. You probably explain the ICS a little better than I can.
It's when you open up a financial instrument that's not held by the bank. So they allow other banks to take that money and invest it. And because it's outside of their institution, you get a higher interest rate for it.
And we get the FDIC protections on each 250. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Maybe I should have let you explain that. That's good. Okay.
So you can keep it with the bank, you would just get a slightly lower return. And so we did a transaction where we kept the majority with the bank, but we did put a smaller percentage out for a higher rate return. The other good thing about the ICS is that it has no maturity date, so you can, the money is there. You can pull it if you need it without penalty, without it having a maturity date. So.
And this is through our bank.
Yes.
And who is that?
Prime South.
Prime South. Okay, 10 minutes.
On the housing choice vouchers, we've got 28,318 coming in, 27,069 going out. Is that supposed to be cash flow neutral? Are those ledgers supposed to match up, the in and the out?
Not necessarily. I mean, because you have extra money in there for other stuff. So.
It's not a one-to-one.
No.
And then from the general fund.
No,
Okay.
just we pay some stuff out of general fund for these other accounts, and at the end of the month, our fee accountant will transfer that money out of those accounts back into the general fund account to reimburse it.
Okay, it's a reimbursement.
Right.
So it's probably 1 month behind and
Yes.
generally the same. Got it. All right.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions? If not, do we need to vote to receive this information?
It's more of a snapshot summary, just so that everyone would have an idea of the kind of accounts we have and the transactions in general. Like if we went specific, with say Glen Villa, it could be 20 pages. But this is kind of like a snapshot of everything combined. But if there's ever a category that you think would be something you want to delve into, then we can specifically target that for the next time so that you can get a closer look.
Would it be helpful? I think it would be helpful. Please disagree with me if you disagree. To see a 12-month year-over-year change on each of these line items, just where we're at vis-a-vis last year. That would be.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Because looking at these in the abstract, looks good.
Right.
Don't know where we were last year off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's no problem.
All right. If there are no more questions, then we'll move on to back to the merit increases.
Again,
So it makes sense for us to look at this first. All right.
Again, good evening, commissioners. So this year, the supervisors and the employees did evaluations on their jobs. The employees were required to do a self-evaluation, just as, say, this is how I think I'm doing, and these are the areas that I think I need assistance with. These are the things that I think, would help the organization. The supervisors then in turn took the self-evaluations and also our evaluation form and evaluated the employees. The employees are evaluated on several things. All employees are evaluated on their knowledge of job, quantity of work, quality of work, reliability, initiative and creativity, judgment, cooperation, and attendance. Then your supervisors are evaluated on 3 additional factors, which are planning and organizing, directing and controlling, and decision making. And I did make y'all some copies of this. So,
We're going to self-evaluate ourselves then?
yes. The rating scale for employees are 5. If you're at a 5, that means you're excellent and that you consistently exceed the standards. 4, outstanding, frequently exceeds the standards. 3, satisfactorily, generally meets standards. 2, needs improvement, frequently fails to meet standards. And 1, unacceptable, fails to meet standards. So we did, like I said, the evaluations on the employees. There were 28 employees that had evaluations completed. And these are employees that have been employed with the Housing Authority for at least a year. The ones that are less than a year are probationary employees, like myself, did not receive this type of evaluation. So the scores are as follows. Under 3, satisfactory or generally meet standards, you had 20 employees that fell into that category. With 7 in the 3.0 to 3.4 range, and 13 in the 3.5 to 3.9 range. Outstanding, there were 8 altogether, with 6 in the 4 to 4.4 and 2 in the 4.5 to 4.9. The merit increase that were so the average score was 3.68%. Or 3.68, and that's the average merit increase, which is 3.68%, with employees getting with the ability to get up to 5%. And one got a 5%, and there was a couple that would qualify for over 4%. The total cost for that merit increase is $46,658, and that's for the remaining of this fiscal year. There's no sense in going back and counting July to now. We're looking at October to June. And that total comp means that we're including not only the salaries, but the benefits that are attached to the salaries. So your pension, there's a calculation that includes pension, FICA, and pension and Medicare in that number. So we're recommending that we do move forward with this. There are some possibilities with the way we administer the increases. Normally, typically you would see a merit increase that would increase the employee's base rate, which sticks with the employee forever, sticks on this, and it's on your payroll forever. There is a possibility to do a merit increase that's a lump sum payment, so allowing that employee to take just the lump sum. The only taxes that are paid are FICA and Medicare. That's not attached to the pension. It does not, and once that's paid, it is off the books. It's just a lump sum. Another way to do it is to allow this for that payment to be invested in the employee's retirement account. Again, that's a one-time shot. Does not stick to the payroll, and once that's done, it's done. So those are possibilities, but the one that's going to, I list the cost for the base rate increase because that's the most expensive. There's no way to tell right now how much it would be if someone wanted just a lump sum, and if we were to give employees that option, that $46,658 would be reduced.
So this would be the most.
That would be the most.
Most of it.
That would be the most.
Commissioners, any questions?
What do we do next year?
What do we do? Well, what we do next year is a couple of things. We're going to restructure some things with our performance appraisal tool, and by that time we will have a new pay plan in place, and so you'll see, I think, a matrix for merit increases instead of just this very simple 1 to 5 or 0 to 5% based on performance. It'll be a little bit different, a little bit more involved.
So you wouldn't anticipate next year, you can see how this just conflates itself over time, and over 5 years somebody gets a 30% raise.
No.
Okay.
No.
What do we do about employees that scored below 3.68? Do they get the 3.68%?
So that's just the average. So if you got a 3,
Mm-hmm.
you get 3. You get a 3% increase. Yeah,
You get a 3%. Regardless of what it is, you get that as your increase
The 3%.
for 3%.
Yeah. If you got so if your score is 3.2, your merit increase is 3.2%.
Got it. Did anyone score below 3?
No. Thank goodness. Because if they did, then they wouldn't get an increase.
We don't have
There wouldn't be no increase.
There's nobody that.
Nobody
No.
that did not show up, and I read through every evaluation,
Okay.
and that did not show up. No.
What does this look like against our budget?
Well, it's a very small percentage of the budget.
On that line item of the budget.
Yeah, so I don't see the personnel costs on this
It's not.
spreadsheet. So
So if I may interject, if we go back prior to my arrival, one of the issues that HUD raised in their audit of the Brunswick Housing Authority was the payroll tax, because there were a number of individuals on the payroll who were exceeding what their pay band should be, and that high pay was causing the housing authority to pay more payroll tax than the board agreed for the budget. Those salaries are gone. Half of one of those salaries is this number, and 2 of those salaries are gone. So if you're worried about us overspending, fiscal responsibility is one of our new mantras.
Yeah, I'm not. It doesn't seem like an astronomical number, so it's very, very palatable. So the 46,658, that would take us through the end of this calendar year, and then double it essentially through the end of the fiscal year.
end of the fiscal year, yes.
So call it like 125 through the end of the fiscal year, something like that. Is that right?
No, it's
No?
46 from October to June
To June.
for the
Oh,
fiscal year.
Ah.
Yeah,
when you said year, I thought
yeah. No,
calendar year.
no. I'm thinking. I always think in terms of fiscal year. This, yeah.
No
You
doubling.
should.
No doubling. No doubling.
All right.
Well,
good.
I must admit, I thought the exact same
There's
thing.
no doubling.
I didn't go to June, but you said that.
Yeah.
You said the fiscal year. So, yeah, I'm with you. And I think we asked you and the chair of the personnel committee.
Mhm.
So, you know, you may want to meet with Mr. Baisden and Ms. Reed on this and other items for the future. Other also benefits that we might be able to provide and attract talent with. I know one of the things the county has is career track, and you probably know how to explain that. I do not, but it allows for people to get their degrees, and I believe get reimbursed for it or get compensated.
Yeah, so it's a way. It's career track is like a career ladder program. It allows employees to basically compete against themselves with criteria that are in place to move from, let's just say, an electrician 1 to an electrician 2. So an electrician 1 is an entry level position. You meet the minimum. With an electrician 2, you meet certain criteria. You go back to school, get some certifications, maybe get a degree. You move up to 2, and you move up to 3. That way, you don't have to wait for a vacancy to open to move up. And I think with the tuition reimbursement, the county just reintroduced the tuition reimbursement program. We used to have that where employees would be reimbursed for going to school, just the cost of the matriculation fees and the cost of books, and it wasn't anything extravagant. We stuck to the rates that the state sets for state schools. It's not not looking at private schools or anything. If you go to a private school, fine, you're getting state rates as a reimbursement.
But that's just something to put on
Yeah.
to look at.
I think that's great.
Yeah. So.
On the idea of dropping it in as a one-time retirement benefit, has there been any discussion or feedback from staff on that, or has that even been presented?
That has not been really discussed with the remaining of this, just myself and Mr. Baisden.
And would that be, we have a defined contribution plan?
We have a defined contribution. We have a defined benefit and a defined
Yes,
contribution.
ma'am. Okay. Cool. I think that's all the questions I
Okay.
have.
Any other questions? So you all need a vote from us on this?
Yes.
All right. Entertain a motion on the proposed merit increases.
I didn't I forgot to do a recommended motion, so.
We don't have them normally anyway, but it's a good thing to implement, Mr. Bates. Give us the motion to make.
So, or I guess it's the motion for the approval of the rate increases and not necessarily the method in
Right.
which. So that can be addressed later.
That can be internally addressed,
Okay.
yes.
Second.
So I move to approve the. Need my motions here. I move to approve the merit increases as presented by Ms. Reed, in the amount of $46,658 through the end of this fiscal year for all staff collectively.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded that we approve the merit increases up to $46,658 for merit increases for the staff. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Okay.
You know, Miss Reed and I was discussing today, she mentioned
Yes. Christmas is a Christmas bonus that staff It's on an annual basis. I believe last year's bonus was $750 per person. It was a flat bonus amount.
Mhm.
So for your current staff, that would be $26,250.
I like how you do that after the
Right.
after the 46.
Well, and we started out with what we got in the bank, right?
I see. Yeah. We're going down.
All right.
Is that something that I think last year we had some heartburn on how to do that and what exactly it would look like, and
Correct.
is that something that staff would like to maybe take a look at and give us a couple of options on?
We can certainly do that. Absolutely.
I think the point was because we were talking about this, the conversation came up and we wanted to share with the board, and as we were discussing it, I didn't have an issue with it. I don't get it. But then it had me thinking about the constant conversation I'm having with staff about let's look for ways that we can spend better. We can be more economical in how we purchase. Let's not just spend money on events and activities because we've always done it this way for the past 5 to 7 years. And I go back to the point you raised about the fact that we provided the board with the budget where we were in a deficit. And my thing is, I said that before the end of the year we would be back with a revised budget, and that number would be reduced, if not even breaking even. So sometimes just asking people to do things, and they continue to do things the way they've always done. I think we notify the board as well as our staff that, we're gonna look at where we are at the end of the year, and I think the bonuses should be tied to how well we do as an authority. If we're making those hard choices and we're not wasteful, I think the bonuses should be awarded. But if we are at 3.5 million in a deficit and we come back at the end of the year and we're at 3.3 or 3.1, then oh well, you spent what you had an opportunity to earn. So that way it's not me just talking on hollow ears. It's about everybody actively trying to help us make a difference.
So again, I guess we need to know, where are we then? Are we in the black or are we still in the red? Because I don't know if I can tell from this information.
You cannot, but we have, since that budget was approved by the board, we've had some major expenditures removed, and it probably the next item, the audit firm that we're looking to bring on. Once we get them in, and they should be starting the audit next month. I think we'll have an update, and I expect our numbers to be drastically different, favorable in November.
Okay.
But again, we can't do this by ourselves. This is a team effort.
All right. So you're talking to us, but speaking to the staff.
It's for everybody.
Right.
It's for mass consumption.
Right. So I guess the board cannot have those private parties. I'm sorry, y'all.
I was not invited.
Yeah, got to take that out the budget. Okay, so if you all, when we get more information, I mean, we look to do this, especially when the staff has earned it. And I think that you all are developing a culture. We have great people, and we're putting together systems for them to operate in so that they can really show their gifts and talents to serve the families, our families. So, okay, well we'll look for that information, and then we'll make a decision about that going forward. But it is something that we seek to do. I don't think that's a consensus. It's if we can afford it, and if we can afford it, that means the staff has earned it. All right, okay. Mr. Baisden, on the audit.
Ms. Reed was kind enough to prepare a memo which kind of outlines in your packet the firm that we're looking to engage with is Henderson and Pelletieri. They have a history of providing audit services for housing authorities. I think they actually represent or they audit over 118 housing authorities. They were referred by several other housing authorities in the state of Georgia who also utilizes their services. Ms. Reed and I scheduled a call with them last week to kind of talk about some of the things that make us unique here at the Brunswick Housing Authority. And some of our challenges were we provided them with scenarios and asked of ways they could help us get to an area different where we want to be. They provide services and solutions outside of the audit, so things that we have specialized issues that we want to rectify, they can work with us on those as well outside of just providing the standard audit. The conversation was it was friendly. I feel I had a level of comfort with them, and it seems like this would be a wise choice. We need an auditor, and we need one by next month, so that they can have the audit completed by the end of the year, first of the year, because we have a HUD requirement to have that submitted as well. And from that, HUD will determine how we are operating as well, based on how we keep our tenant files, how we're doing our cash receipts, how we're doing our procurement. All of these issues are going to be addressed in the audit, not just the financials, but our day-to-day operations. And so this is something that they're well versed in, and we think this would be a good selection.
But where are they based out of?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
I spoke with Mr. Henderson, and he said, believe it or not, they have more clients in Georgia than they do in Alabama.
Okay.
Was this the only firm that we interviewed?
Yes, we reached out to several throughout the state and out of state, and they advised that they would issue a proposal, but we didn't receive any, not within the time that we closed.
Because we have to get this done by a certain time. And
End of October, is that correct?
They usually get started in October.
Okay.
Sometimes they get started in mid to late September, but they typically want to have the audit completed either by the end of the year or the start of the next year at the latest. And so our RFP went out, I want to say, was it over the summer?
Mm-hmm. Late July. It was open through the I think through the third week of August. So it was a good 30 days.
And I believe we issued a similar RFP last year that wasn't responded to by anyone because of the situation that we were in. So,
but what we did different this time was we targeted specific auditing firms, and we asked them to please respond to our RFP, or at least take a look at it, to kind of be proactive and not just kind of wait to see what happens.
all right.
and this is a 4-year agreement. Is that
It would be renewable. I mean, it would be.
the intention? Is for it to be a
yeah, it's,
24-year.
1 year with 4 option years.
And our current fee accountant was previously our auditor. Are they aware that Henderson has responded, and did they have anything to say?
I asked the fee accountant to take a look at the proposal, and he gave it the thumbs up as well.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion. Move forward on this.
Move that we accept the engagement with Henderson Pelletieri to be our audit accountants for this fiscal year.
Second.
We have a first and a second on the proposal from the Henderson, how you say that last? Tilletary LLC group. And this is for this year, and we will have option years after that. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, go get them. All right, Mr. Baisden, DCA update.
I just wanted to bring the board up to date that in August we did have the DCA call and talking about the project-based vouchers. They want a deadline, I think, August the 31st. I did go through their MOU that they provided. I went to HUD site and kind of did some detailed research on the project-based voucher as well. And I reached out to them and asked them if they could just be a little more specific as to the specialized services that would be attached to the project-based vouchers, because theirs was very general. They said they would get that to me right after the Labor Day holiday. The following week, they did provide me with a updated version with the footnote kind of going into the specialized services. I reached out to them at the start of last week and said that I would be circulating that information for review and then taking feedback, and then I would contact them immediately thereafter. So that's kind of the update. They have provided something. I wanted to share it with a few of the other nonprofits here in the city who specialize in homeless services to kind of get their feedback on the services as well. And so I hope to have their okay or their thoughts on what could be added or removed, or the language is fine. So they have come back with what we requested.
Okay, so it's in our court, the ball is in our court. Okay. All right. Commissioners? Questions, concerns?
There's no open cycles on the project-based vouchers from DCA right now.
The DCA was pushing for August the 30th because they had 3,500 that they wanted to start awarding. I'm not sure that the 60 that may have been set aside were ever in jeopardy. But also the DCA will also have new vouchers again available the first of the year. And so, there's sort of a time crunch, but there really wasn't. It was just kind of a timing thing.
We missed that deadline, and any that are left over after the 3,500, and we don't know how many were applied for.
Correct.
Out of that 3,500.
Correct.
And there will they can create more of those in the future.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. The first of the year, they'll probably have another batch.
They'll just create them. Cool. Good for them.
Yeah, something tells me that those 60 are pretty safe. The input that the way they were chasing out the Chris to get this done. So, all right. I think we do have a couple of things for executive session. I know one we considered under personnel and
I believe we need to discuss
real estate and legal update.
I move that we exit open meeting and enter into executive session to discuss real estate, personnel, and litigation.
Have a first and a second. We go into executive session. All in favor, raise your right hand. We're in executive session.